Hello all, welcome to the first ever recorded video of Star Trek Enterprise review. And with me is Captain Trek as always, and joining us will be Vance Major. How are you doing, guys?
No, not bad, man.
Cap, how are you doing?
Doing okay.
All right, so we'll go around quick, do the my normal format here, and get the initial thoughts, and then we'll go into the episode and kind of break it down a little bit. So, Vance, what was your initial thoughts on this one?
I saw a lot of comparisons to like what we're going through today with the immigrants at the border, and hostility toward people that are different than you, yet trying to look past those stereotypes. The camps from like World War II that Archer talked about was, very reminiscent to kind of some of the stuff that we're looking at in today's society, and stuff that at the time when Enterprise was first on, I was like, oh, that would never happen again. And then like, here we are, it's kind of like, oh, that's kind of very similar. So I'm looking at it with a different set of eyes. I did have some critiques of the episode, but it was an interesting episode to kind of look back on and be like, when I was younger and watched this, I didn't see these things. And now I'm a little older, a little wiser, have a little less hair, and I see it differently. So it was interesting.
All right. And Cap?
Actually, I would say this is really overall the first good episode I have seen of Enterprise. Season 1.
Yeah, you know what? I'll go as far as that. It was I can agree with both of you on that. It was a very interesting episode, and it was good. I have some critiques on it, but it was good. It was it has some aspects that were done right.
Mm-hmm.
For the subject matter they were tackling.
Right.
And it wasn't in your face, but it was. And I always like when they can pull that off. When it's when they throw a hot button topic, and instead of arguing over how they did it, the comment coming away is more discussing with your buddy about that topic and not how they portrayed it. Does that make any sense to anybody?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would have to say I liked was it wasn't full of a lot of fluff. It wasn't filler material. You actually got the story.
Right.
And so because I'm a complete goober, I forgot to mention which episode it was. So basically, it was Star Trek Enterprise, episode 20, season 1, Detained. So now that I got that out of the way. But yeah, like for me, the episode starts out and Archer and one of the crewmen are basically held hostage. They're been arrested. And you find out that the Suliban are there. Now, in the past episodes of Enterprise, the Suliban are always associated with the Cabal for the most part. So right away, they figure it's the Cabal, which of course turns out to be wrong. So what were your initial thoughts as this is opening up? And they're starting to show, and they show the Suliban, and the fact that they're in the prison. What were your thoughts?
So my first, like, I always hate the episodes where people wake up and they're in the middle of a cell, because it's kind of a Star Trek trope.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one that's overplayed. And then he opens the door, which it's like, so you're in a prison that just allows you to open the door. Okay, that's kind of dumb. And he sees the Suliban, which I was just like, fuck, really? Are we really going for the Suliban here? So you instantly have the opening to an episode, which I'm just like, this is a terrible episode for me to start with you guys on, because I'm like, man, I really want to defend the series. And then we get to this opening, and I'm like, dang it. So for me, not good. But like you said, it didn't. There wasn't a lot of filler in this episode, and I felt like everything was appropriate. The only critique I have of the entire episode of doing those things is it felt a little bit formulaic, Star Trek wise. I was kind of waiting for throw something else that I'm not expecting. And that's a big problem that Enterprise has, especially given the fact that you had gone through Next Gen, you'd gone through DS9, you'd gone through Voyager, and then you get to Enterprise. It was starting to show that franchise fatigue, because again, you're starting to watch the episodes and you go, this is a by the numbers episode. Was it bad? No, but it was very formulaic. And I did like the fact that they gave Mayweather something to do, which is not something the series does as a whole. He's kind of left out high and dry. They gave him something to do in this episode, and I liked it. So, what do you think, Cap?
Yeah, I did. It did start out, like you were saying, all of a sudden they're in this prison cell, and that was the one critique I would have. And, at the time when I first started watching it, I almost expected, because of the head of the facility that they were at, it's like, oh, Al's going to walk through the wall.
Yeah.
It's
right. I did like the line he said where, it'd be different to have met in like under different circumstances or something. Like, I thought that was a wonderful Quantum Leap reference,
yes.
like throw it. It was kind of sad that they never went there, because it would have been great to see those guys kind of pal around again, kind of like what they did with John Schneider on Smallville, how they reunited him with the Duke boys, on Smallville. It was just kind of charming to see two people connect, and they didn't have it here. Although the character was great, they didn't connect here like that,
Yeah, and the other thing for me, like, when the show opens up, I agree with you. It is annoying when they go and they start out in a prison cell, because to me, if you're the last thing I want is within 30 seconds of the episode to go, whoa, what did I miss? Right? How did they get here? So as my brain is asking all these questions, I'm missing the first 5 minutes of this movie or show, because my brain is going, well, why are they there? And I keep waiting. Okay, now they tell me.
Well, the thing about it is well, the thing about it is, like, it can be done right. And it was done right the first 100 times they did it in Star Trek. But by the time you get to this episode, it's just kind of played out. Like, they've gone to the well too many times, and you're just like, man, I don't enjoy it, So that's really my only real critique with this episode. That and the fact that, like, for being these kind of put away people, like, everybody was dressed really nice. Like, there's no dirt on them or anything. Like, they're just like everybody's just
Taylor.
Exactly. Like, and that's another again problem with the Enterprise had, is like, everybody, for being such a what should have been like a rugged show like Battlestar Galactica was. Or hell, even Firefly. Like, this show, everybody was so nicely dressed, and it kind of took me away from, okay, is this really a dangerous Final Frontier? Like, I could have bought this for a 25th century series where everybody had gotten to the point where replicators are here and everybody dresses nicely, and we don't have these problems. But this is supposed to be the Final Frontier. Like, we're discovering it, and it doesn't come across that way. So it's not necessarily a critique of the episode, although it is, but it's more the series as a whole,
Yeah. And what about you, Cap? What are your thoughts on that?
See, I'm going to pass it to you for this one.
Okay. So basically, for me, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of like the kind of person who would have, like, before the bumper, so before the intro music that I can't stand, you have the shuttlecraft going down to the planet, and then you have them getting attacked or whatever, and then after the theme song, they awake in the prison cell. right? Because then you're not spending the first couple seconds of the episode trying to get your bearings mentally. Like, okay, well, why are they there? Well, what's going on? And then, it kind of, it's kind of just one of my pet peeves with it, because it's like, well, okay, you could show at least, them going into, the planet or whatever, so that we know how they got from ship to wherever the hell they are. And yeah, but I mean, enough about that. Let's move on. So the Enterprise gets contacted, and they're told that they're going to, there's going to be a trial. They're not allowed to talk to the captain, yada, yada, yada. Meanwhile, the head guy is trying to get information on the Solomon from Archer, and Archer's going, nah, I'm not going to tell you shit. Which, in a way, I don't, initially, I don't understand his motivation. Because initially, when he refuses to say anything, they really hadn't had that connection with the Solomon that they were within the prison system. They really didn't have that connection. Archer just automatically went, yeah, this is bullshit. And he had made that decision before he even talked to them.
Well, the thing about it was, I forget the colonel's name. I keep wanting to call him Al. But the thing is, he really comes across as sincere in everything he says. And I don't feel like it's a throw off, it's for the audience. It really comes across as very sincere. And it would be different if it was played across in some type of way, like he's being deceived, devious or deceiving or something, but it never comes across that way until the gotcha moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But this is pre-gotcha moment, and Archer's already kind of going, yeah, screw you. I'm not telling you nothing. It's just, you can tell he's not, I guess my problem is the only reason Archer's not telling him is because the script tells him not to. Does that make any sense? Archer has no other motivation other than the fact that the script tells him not to.
Yeah, for plot reasons. Yeah, that's exactly it. And that, to me, you could kind of make a case for, he saw that. I forgot. Did he see that one dude with his daughter before or after he talked to Al?
Before, but they hadn't really discussed, right? They hadn't really talked, and he really hadn't got the scoop, as it were, until after that conversation.
I guess you could kind of make the case that that's what kind of tipped him to be like, something's not I guess you could kind of make that case, but again, nothing. To me, it's like nothing there really screamed something's wrong.
Yeah.
And again, when he's talking to, I feel as if he would have talked to the guy and been like, hey, this is what we're doing. It's more for their safety, instead of, no, it's for their safety. It's just like, good God, dude. If you had just had a conversation of, hey, how come there's kids here, families here? What is that? And be like, well, hey, because the Cabal, not only, unless they want to be in the Cabal themselves, they're going to be hunted. So we do keep them here. We don't want to, but we kind of have to. I feel like that would have been, oh, okay, I may not like it, but at least I understand. That would have at least been understandable. Even if he didn't agree with that mentality, he just for no reason seemed to turn into this mustache twirling villain that I'm like, that kind of came out of nowhere, and for someone who's like, hey, genuinely, hey, what do you know about the Cabal, the Temporal Cold War, all these things that, those are red flags.
Yeah.
And at no point did he ever even try to go and say, hey, what do you know about it?
Yeah.
Because I would have.
Yeah, it's kind of like, so let's not tip my hat about how much I know. Yeah, I just, to me, it just seemed the interactions were very forced and
Yeah.
very like, by the book, right? And then the other thing that I'm kind of curious, and Cap, you can probably answer me this because you've seen this series.
Okay.
Do we
Yeah.
ever get a payoff as to why the Japanese in World War II internment camp is so special to him? Archer, I mean. Because when he says it in the episode, right? He acts and he puts the emotion behind it that there's a personal connection there. But there's no payoff in this episode to.
I would say no. There's no payoff.
There's a lot of that in the series where there's no real payoff for anything. It's just kind of random shit that happens. And the temporal Cold War is an example of that. When they wrote the series, they had no idea who the person in the transporter thing talking to Silic, I think his name is. Like they didn't know who that was. They didn't have any idea. They didn't know. And they went back and said, "Yeah, we had no idea what we were doing." Ha 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 ha. For me, it's like, "Oh, that is not a guy I want in charge of my franchise." If you're joking, like what? Like for me, it's, they've got some really good fan theories about how that's possibly like future Jonathan Archer, who's messaging back trying to fix time or trying to mess time up, or he's it's like they've got some really good fan theories. But like it's if you don't have a payoff, that what the hell, man? And I can tell you, by the time you get to that point in the series where they finally do say, you know what, let's just cut away from this shit. Like it's so unsatisfactory that you're like, what was the point? Because your whole beginning part of your series was built upon this one thing, and it goes nowhere. And I was really wanting to delve into that because I loved the temporal Cold War idea, and it went nowhere. And for what they do with the show, or at least with this episode, with helping the people get them done right, you have your guy go in there and he rescues all these and he does the right thing and gets the captain out, and then they sneak a bomb and blow the people. Like it was very by the book. Again, I was waiting for the what happened, surprise me, and there was just no surprise. It was a good episode. It's just it wasn't original. It's kind of like when you watch a play of like the Glass Menagerie, and you're like, oh, I've already read the book.
Yeah. But like for me and Cap, I'll give you a second here.
Okay.
But like for me, it just the way it was, the way he brought it up, because one, in my mind, like when I'm thinking about this, I'm like, okay, well, even like just timeline. The Japanese internment camps from World War II are so far removed by now that, like if he had said during World War III they did this or something, okay, maybe. But he's going all the way back to 1945, 43, 44. What is drawing him to that reference? So you automatically go, okay, well then he must have some kind of personal connection, like grandfather 16 times removed was in that camp, right? Because that's the way it was portrayed. But it just doesn't, right?
Yeah, you would have thought they would have brought up what happened like with Cisco.
Yeah.
Rather than,
Yeah, but it's like anything, right? Well, Cisco hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, it had. Enterprise. Well, you're right, but I mean,
yeah, in timeline,
I'm sorry,
Cisco hadn't happened
you're
yet.
Right. You're right. I'm sorry, but I mean, I'm talking about the events of the Bell riots would have already happened.
Yeah, they would have happened, but Cisco being no, that hasn't happened yet. In timeline, but
they would have known about the Bell.
Oh yeah, but at the same time, right? you sit there and they're like, okay, well,
So if they were going to make the Japanese reference, they should have been making the Bell riots, in the 21st century, not, what happened early in the 20th century.
Well, yeah, because you had all of those. What was it? The block city things that were.
yeah,
That would have been just as relevant. And what, 100 years earlier?
yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't understand. Like, for me, that was a big pullout. Well, okay, well, why is...
Well, the reason, the reason I could see them doing that would be because it's like some people who are watching Enterprise, when you're writing for your everyday man.
Yeah,
You're not necessarily...
they're gonna know what happened with the Japanese, but for critiquing a show, I'm looking at it like, well, does this make sense within universe? And for me, it's like, well, why would he know about?
And I will say this for their defense: at the beginning, Star Trek was not. It was Enterprise.
Yeah.
It wasn't until season 3 that they put Star Trek in there. So they were trying to, even though it was a Star Trek-based series, it was not Star Trek until later.
Yeah. But the other thing to me, right, for it would be like, and I'm kind of stuck on this one spot, but it just, to me, it just comes across as flat, because you're saying, okay, well, we're gonna pull up this, but in some senses, I could say it this way: for Jean-Luc Picard, right, to mention the Japanese internment makes sense character-wise.
Right. Yes.
Okay. For Archer to do it doesn't make sense character-wise.
Well, and this thing, like, you're absolutely right. Picard was a history buff. He knew his history. He had Shakespeare on his desk. He was on it. Archer, he's an explorer. He wants to be reaching out. Like, he wouldn't necessarily be ignorant of history, but I don't know if I necessarily, I don't know if I. No, you're right. I don't know if I necessarily buy, though, the fact that he's so clung on that one idea. Yeah,
so, yeah. Like for Picard to say it makes sense in my head, right? When I'm pulling this through, I'm going, okay, well, they wouldn't need to explain it, because Jean-Luc, well, of course he's going to know about this. He's gone back and looked at the Age of Sail, for pity's sakes, right? So he's going to know these things. Whereas Archer, it's not in his character. It's almost character breaking for Archer to be bringing up historical events like that, because it's not a standard Archer trait.
Right.
So for me, that's the hardest part about it. Is it's like, okay, well, if you are going to introduce a new trait, back it up, or at least explain it. Why is this moment in history something that's going to come to his mind? Like, I got my car washed last week, right? Well, why is this so fresh in his mind? This obscure reference to the 1940s of Earth history. Whereas Picard, it makes sense, because Picard is your history nut. But anyway, moving along, we're not talking about this for 4 hours. Okay, so now, what did you guys think of the actual rescue? And I know, Vance, you had touched on it. You had said it's very paint by the numbers. They do the distraction, the explosion. They, managed to take over an entire fortress with 2 phaser pistols. And then, of course, the shuttlecraft taking out all the outer base defenses, which never fired once, I might add. So they've got people really asleep at the trigger. Because, they didn't get a single shot off. Like, at all.
It was, again, by the book, by the numbers.
Yeah, Cap, what did you think?
So,
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Pat.
no, I'm sorry. I had a coworker that was asking me a question.
Yeah, no worries.
Give me 1 second. Go ahead and take it, Cap. Okay.
Well, see, I liked it because there was actually some real action. It wasn't. Yeah, it might have been some paint by number stuff, but up until this point, it'd been kind of gone flat.
Yeah, I
Everything-
can agree with you there. Yeah,
Well,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
everything they should have had action before, just kind of, yeah. But this time, they actually mounted a rescue, and they actually, went in there. Really, one of the first times that they use the transporter, you see Reed show up, and as a disguised, and it was just kind of an action sequence where it really fit.
Yeah, I can buy that. I can buy that. It was a nice action sequence. The only thing I would have liked was even if the base defenses got 2 shots off.
Agreed. I agree. I think they should have gotten anything off. You're right.
To me, again, I liked all the character stuff in the film. In the episode. I feel as if with this, like the rescue part, I felt like that was just like, God, let's just get this over with. It was.
It's kind of like, oh shoot, we got 5 more minutes to film this.
Yeah,
okay,
I feel like
cue you, and let's go.
Yeah, I felt like if there was any filler, it would have been this was it right here. Like they padded, although it was needed for the episode. It was just boring to me. Like nothing. Like the Enterprise flies through. I do like the stuff with DePaul where she floods their data banks with information. I like that. I thought that was fun.
Oh yeah, that was funny. That was cheeky as hell.
But yeah, I loved that. But the thing I just everything else is like you seem to be this kind of all-powerful ship. Nothing poses much of a threat. Why doesn't it pose a threat? Oh, because we're running out of time, guys. We're 43 minutes into the 44-minute segment. We got to go. That's why. It's like nothing. Give us a little action. Jeez. I mean, pose some type of threat. I mean, the ships in orbit, they fire a couple of shots or something, or an Enterprise just easily defeats them. I mean, granted, that's going to happen, but it's like you're an inexperienced ship, and this race who's going against the Cabal can't keep up with Enterprise, but yet the Cabal beats the shit out of the Enterprise every single time they meet up. To me, it's just nothing quite makes sense when you stop and heavily think about it. But I do like the thought of what they were trying to do. It's just a lot of the execution was just like, man, it's boring. At least action-wise. I do like the conversations where Mayweather's talking to that one dude going, hey, I can look past you. Can't you look past me? I liked that because it's like those are really good questions, and it makes you look at yourself. But the action stuff is where they kind of failed. Now, as the series goes by, I will spoil it for you. It gets better. But this is honestly, I was not impressed when I first watched it. I tuned out around this time because it was always hit or miss for me. And this was a really bad episode. This is one of the ones that at the time I was like, why are they doing this to us? Because we've seen better,
Yeah. Well, for me, I think the battle scene, for me, kind of the part that there was a couple of parts of the battle scene and the final escape that drove me nuts. One was the fact that, like, the Enterprise overwhelming the 2 scout ships didn't bother me too much. I mean, they've done worse with the Enterprise D. But the fact that, one, we get a setup for something and we never see the payoff several times in this episode. Just in this episode alone, like this, for what I went on for a 15-minute tangent that I won't go on again, but the whole, why does Captain Archer know about the whole Japanese internment thing? Second, we see the guy that you just brought up, that the Solobon that he was talking to, goes, no, I'll go back for him, because one of the Solobon are trapped and in a firefight, and Mayweather was going to go back to get him, and he goes, no, I'll go, and he takes the phase pistol and he goes, and we never see what happens there. We don't get a communication. We don't get nothing. We don't get nothing. We don't know what happens. All we know is that Solobon went back to get the other Solobon, but we don't know if they made it off the planet alive. We don't know because it's never told.
Well, to be consistent, we never hear about these group of Solobon again, so at least you don't have to worry about, is it going to come back? So, I mean,
Well, yeah, but for me, that's that's the part that annoys me, because if you're setting up a big heroic scene like that, where this guy's going to redeem himself now and go back for his buddy, we don't see any of that. We also don't hear, just a simple communique from the Solobon to Captain Archer. Thank you, Captain. We all made it. Pleasant flights, whatever, just over the intercom, whatever. Nothing. Nada. We don't know what happened. We don't know if he made it out. We don't know.
They wanted to leave it on a, I get what they were going for with the Mayweather asking Archer, do you think they're going to make it? You think they'll be all right? He's like, do I think they'll make it? Yes. Do I think they'll be all right? And then he doesn't answer. It's like,
he doesn't answer. He doesn't answer.
Yeah, I get what you're going for, and that's fine. But it's like, again, you're absolutely right. There's no real payoff, and it's just like, it's not a bad episode. This is, I think, one of the stronger ones. This certainly was more interesting than some of the clunkers that they've thrown out this season.
Yes.
But I mean, if you were to compare this to later seasons of Enterprise, this is bad. So, I mean, as for how are we going to rate this? Is this going to be on a 1 to 10 or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I do all of them out of 1 to 10. And actually, you jumped ahead, because that's exactly what we're going to go for next, because we've been kind of rambling on for about 33 minutes now. So we're gonna wrap this sucker up, and I'm gonna go around like I always do and get everybody's final 2 cents, and then I'll throw my 2 cents in, and we'll wrap this up. So Vance, you go ahead.
Well, I would have to say that this is a 4.
Okay.
There were a lot of things I liked, but I liked them better when they were told the first 15 times. I like the fact that they gave Mayweather something to do, which is something the series is not known to do. I like the fact they made Archer strong here, which again is not something the earlier part of the series is known to do.
Mm-hmm.
I like that DePaul was clever in flooding those aliens, information database. I like the ideas of the internment camp stuff they bring back up, which really kind of hits home with some of the stuff that is in today's society. However, the flaws that the show has, I have to be critical and go, it's been done before and done better. So although it's entertaining, it's not great. It's just, I watched it. I wouldn't watch it if it was on again on TV.
Okay, fair enough. Captain Trek, you're up.
See, I would go a little the opposite, because we've been watching the series so far, and I've been trying to for my best to keep everything that happens after this out of mind. So for this episode, I would have to rate it a 6 because it is far superior to previous episodes that we've seen, where everything is just kind of fluff. And yes, there have been things that were tropes that have happened in the past series that yeah, they were kind of leaned heavily upon. But for this episode, for the series so far, is the strongest.
Yeah, and so for me, and this is weird because when we do the other two, usually it's Cap and I that are on the low end, and Vance is on the high end. So this one is going to be interesting. So I'm tying with Cap on this and bringing it up to a 6 because the last 3 episodes of Enterprise that I've watched have been absolutely meh. Like, wouldn't care if I missed them. At least this one kept me engaged for the most part. I mean, I had my problems with it, but it kept me engaged. Where the last 3 that we've watched that I've rated quite low really didn't. It's kind of like, is it over yet? Is it done yet?
Well, like I've told you before, if you're a fan of Enterprise, stick it through to about halfway through second season, or at least you'll know which episode, and I'll bring it up if I'm still around, if you guys still have me on doing those, because during maybe middle or 3/4 end of the second season, it gets pretty good. There's some real shiners in the second season. By the time you get to the season finale of the second season, you're like, oh shit, it's on. And then third season on, it's really good television, and I would put it on par with DS9, which I consider to be the highlight of the Trek universe.
Until that last episode, apparently.
Yeah, season 4 is not, it's not good. Like season 3 has really good serialized, and then season 4 is about every 2 or 3 episodes they're kind of grouped together. Yeah. And again, a lot of that ties into like TOS stuff, or this chunk is this, and this chunk is this, and this chunk is this. But overall, it kind of tells the theme of like how the Federation comes, and so you're seeing a lot of what Enterprise should have been. So if you're not a fan at first, that's okay. If you're starting to enjoy it, or like you like this type of episode, like keep on it.
So for me, this episode was definitely stronger than the last 3 that I've watched. So I'm going to tie with Cap and put it at about a 6.
Well, see,
sorry, go ahead.
See, I rate it so low because I know my ratings for the ones coming up will be higher.
Yeah.
So that's one reason why it's like, for me, I know that even though I enjoyed it, I have to go low. So anyway, didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Yeah, no problem. So with that, folks, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave me a like, share, subscribe if you're new to the channel. And also, be sure to leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think of the new format. And thank you, Cap. Thanks, Vance, for coming on.
Oh, always a pleasure, man.
Thank you very much.
Till next time, take her easy, folks.